Wheatstone's bridge. An important application of Kirchhoff rule is the Wheatstone's bridge. It is used to compare the resistance and also helps in determining the unknown resistance in electrical network. The bridge consists of four resistance P, Q, R and S are connected as like a bridge as shown in this diagram. A galvanometer G is connected between the point B and D. The battery is connected between the point A and C. The current through the galvanometer, we mention it as a IG. Applying Kirchhoff current rule to the junction B. Here this is the junction. So if you are applying the current rule, that is here I1 is entering. So it shows the positive sign. Ig and I3 are leaving from the junction. So here we mention it as a minus Ig minus I3 is equal to 0. We can also write this I1 is equal to Ig plus I3. Similarly, at the junction D, here I2 is entering, Ig is also entering, but I4 is leaving from the junction. So, I2 plus Ig minus I4 equal to 0. Also, we can write this equation as I2 is equal to Ig plus I4. And here, the potential difference between these B and D are balanced, means there is no potential difference. So, from the point B and D, there is no current flow. So, we can consider Ig is equal to 0. If Ig is equal to 0 means substitute in this equation. So, you will get I1 is equal to I3 and I2 is equal to I4. Now, we are going to apply Kirchhoff voltage rule to loop A, B, D, A. That is A, B, D, A. So this is one loop. We are going from A to B. So the current direction is same. So by using voltage rule, we know that current into resistance. So I1 into P. So we are writing here I1 into P, and here for this loop, next we are going to see Ig. Ig into G, then but here we are going from this side, but the current direction is opposite direction. So here I2 value is minus I2R. So for the loop A, B, D, A, we can write it as I1 P plus Ig G minus I2R. Since the opposite direction, the I2 is in opposite direction. So if you wrote opposite like this also, if you substitute Ig is equal to 0, we know that there is no potential difference between B and D point. So Ig is equal to 0. If Ig is equal to 0 means you will get I1P is equal to I2R. Next we are going to see for Kirchhoff voltage rule to loop A, B, C, D, A. See, if you see here A, B, C, D, A. So this time we are going for this loop. So here we go along the direction of current. So we will write I1P. I will write here. So it is I1P. And then this is same direction. So plus I3Q. Q is the resistance value. So here, but here is it in the opposite direction. From C to D is opposite direction. So minus I4 into S. Similarly, I2 also opposite direction. So write I2 into minus I2 into R is equal to 0. The same equation I wrote here. That is I1P plus I3Q minus I4S minus I2R is equal to 0. Now, here we know that I3 is equal to I1. So, substitute instead of I3 is equal to I1. Similarly, I4 is equal to I2 in this equation. Now, take I1 common, you will get P plus Q, and I2 also common, you will get S plus R. Now take if this is in opposite direction. So you will get I1 P plus Q is equal to I2 S plus R. Now dividing these two equations, we have to divide these two equations because here also I1 and here also I1. Here this is I2 and this is I2. Both are same. Means by dividing these two equations, P plus Q divided by P is equal to S plus R divided by R. So by dividing equation 5 and 6, you will get this P plus Q by P is equal to R plus S divided by R. So this, if you cancel this P and P, you will get 1. If you cancel by R, you will get 1. These 1 get cancelled. Now Q by P is equal to S by R. So this we can write also P by Q is equal to R by S. This is the bridge balance condition. Only under this condition the galvanometer shows null reflection. Suppose we know the value of two adjacent resistance. The other two resistance can be compared. If three resistance are known, the value of unknown resistance, that is fourth one, can be determined by using this comparison, by using this condition. Now we are going to see the topic is meter bridge. A meter bridge is the another form of Wheatstone bridge. It consists of uniform manganese wire, that is from A and B of 1 meter length. This wire is stretched along a meter scale on a wooden board between two copper strips C and D. Between two copper strips C and D. Between these two copper strips, another strips will be the E, is mounted to enclose the gap G1 and G2 that is shown in the diagram. An unknown resistance P is connected in G1 and the standard resistance Q is connected in G2. A jockey, that is denoted as J, it is connected with the terminal D on the central copper strips through the galvanometer and a high resistance HR. The exact position of the jockey on the wire can read on the meter scale, that is 1 meter length meter scale. SL, that is the electron cell, and the key are connected across the end of this bridge wire. The length of AJ and JB you can replace as R and S. The position of this jockey on the wire is adjusted so that the galvanometer shows the deflection 0. Now the length of this AJ and JB can replace by the resistance R and S. So now it's look like the Wheatstone bridge. So we have P, Q, R and S resistance. So this is the relation between four resistance. P by Q is equal to R by S. Here, so this is the length between A and J, we denoted as resistance R, and the resistance R dash and A and J, this is equal to R, and resistance R dash, the length between J and B, we denoted as S, where this R dash is the resistance per unit length of wire. Now P by Q is equal to AJ divided by JB. AJ length we mentioned as length 1 and JB is equal to length 2. Now take the standard resistance Q value, multiply with L1 by L2. So P is equal to Q into L1 by L2. So this is the relation between these two resistance P and Q. We can find the unknown resistance value of P by adjusting the length L1 and L2 and the standard resistance value Q. So the bridge is solved just at the end of the copper strips. Due to imperfect contact, some resistance might be introduced at the contact. These are called end resistance. This error can be eliminated if another set of readings are taken with P and Q on the average value to find the specific resistance of the material of the wire in the coil P, the radius R and the length L of the wire is measured. that wire we can connect it with the A and B, right? So that length and the radius of the wire, the length of the radius of the wire should be calculated to find the specific resistivity of the wire. So the resistance is equal to rho into length by A. We already read this resistivity topic. So that is, the resistance is directly proportional to resistivity and directly proportional to the length and inversely proportional to the area. By rearranging the above equation, you will get rho, that is resistivity is equal to resistance into A by L. Here this P is the resistance. Here we are P only replacing as a resistance. P is the unknown value of the resistance and area is pi r square. So resistivity is equal to P into pi r square divided by length. Measurement of internal resistance of a cell by potentiometer. To measure the internal resistance of a cell, the circuit connection are made for potentiometer the same for the measurement of internal resistance. The only thing is here one external resistance R is added. The end C potentiometer wire is connected to the positive terminal of the battery and negative terminal of the battery is connected to the key through the end of the D. This forms the primary circuit. The positive terminal of the cell of EMF is whose epsilon, whose internal resistance is to be determined, is also connected to the end C of the wire. The negative terminal of the cell is connected through a jockey through the galvanometer and high resistance HR. A resistance box R and key K2 are connected across the cell E epsilon. With K2 is open, the balancing point J is obtained and balancing length L1 is measured. Since the cell is open, its EMF is directly proportional to the length. A suitable resistance, for example, we will say 10 ohm, is included in the resistance box R and key K2 is closed. Now, R be the internal resistance of the cell. The current passing through the cell and the resistance R is given by I is equal to epsilon by R plus R. The potential difference across R is V is equal to epsilon R divided by R plus R. When the potential difference is balanced on the potentiometer wire, let L2 be the balancing length. Then epsilon R divided by R plus R is directly proportional to length 2. From the equation, we will get R plus R, that is capital R is resistance and small r is internal resistance, divided by R is equal to length 1 divided by length 2. Finally, we get the internal resistance R is equal to, by substituting these equations, capital R resistance L1 minus L2 divided by L2. Substituting the value of R, L1 and L2, the internal resistance of a cell is determined. The experiment can be repeated for different values of R. It is found that internal resistance of a cell is not constant but increase with increase of external resistance connected across its terminal. Welcome students. Now we are going to see the topic is comparison of EMF of two cells with a potentiometer from unit to current electricity. To compare the EMF of two cells, the circuit connections are made as shown in this figure. The potentiometer wire C is connected to a battery and a key in series. So this is the primary circuit. The end of C is connected to the wire terminal M1 and M2. This is the double pole, double throw DP DT. So this M1 is connected to the positive terminal of the EMF and M2 is connected to the positive terminal of the EMF2. Here we are using the two EMF cells and the negative terminals are connected to the N1 and N2. These switches are connected to galvanometer and high resistance HR through the jockey J. So this wire is adjusted to the length so that we can adjust the jockey for zero deflection in the galvanometer. First, switch on the first EMF cell by connecting the switch M1, N1. Now adjust the jockey for zero deflection to find the length L1 for the first EMF cell. Next, switch on the second EMF and switch off the first EMF cell. Now the switch is on between M2 and N2. Now keep the jockey for the length L2 to make a zero deflection in the galvanometer. So let's determine the resistance R per unit length of the potentiometer wire and I be the current flowing through the wire. We have a potential difference for first EMF is equal to IR length 1. Here I and R constant and length L1 will be vary for first EMF and second EMF is equal to IR L2. By dividing these two equations, we will get epsilon 1 divided by epsilon 2 is equal to L1 by L2. By including a rheostat, welcome students. Today we are going to see the topic is potentiometer from the unit to current electricity. Potentiometer is used for the accurate measurement of potential difference, current and resistance. It consists of the 10-meter long uniform wire of magnet or constant stretch in parallel rows each of 1 meter length on a wooden board. The two free ends A and B are bolted to the same side and fixed to the copper strips with binding screws. A meter scale is fixed parallel to the wire. A jockey is provided for making contact. The principle of potentiometer is a steady current is maintained across the wire CD by a battery. The battery, key and the potential wire are connected in series in form a primary circuit. So this is the primary circuit and the positive terminal of the EMF is connected with the C and negative terminal is connected through the jockey through the galvanometer and I resistant HR. So this is the secondary circuit. Let contact may be made by the jockey J at the length of L. So we can adjust the length to show the galvanometer zero deflection. So where's the length if you kept means the length L, if you kept here means the galvanometer shows the zero deflection. So the potential difference across the CG is equal to the I R L, where I is the current flowing through the wire and R is the resistance per unit length of the wire. Since I and R are constants, the EMF is directly proportional to the length. The EMF of the cell is directly proportional to the balancing length. Welcome students. The topic we are going to see now is heating effect of electric current in unit to current electricity. We are using many electrical devices in our daily life. The machine or the bulb or fan, if you are using continuously means it will produce some heat. That is, the electrical energy is converted to the heat energy. So that heat is produced by the current. That's why named as a heating effect of electric current. When current flows through a resistor, some of the electrical energy delivered to the resistor is connected to a heat energy and it is dissipated. This heating effect of current is known as Joule's heating effect. Just as current produces thermal energy may also be suitably used to produce an electromotive force. This is known as thermoelectric effect. In Joule's law, if a current I flows through a conductor kept across a potential difference V for a time t, the work done or electric potential energy spent is W is equal to VIT. In the absence of any other external effect, this energy is spent in heating the conductor. The amount of heat H is produced is H is equal to VIT. For a resistance R, we know that V is equal to IR. Substitute the value of V is equal to IR in this equation H. H is equal to I square RT. This relation was experimentally verified by Joule and is known as Joule's law of heating. It states that heat developed
in an electrical circuit due to the flow of current varies directly as the square of the current, the resistance of the circuit and the time of flow. Here some of the applications of Joule's heating effect, that is electrical heater, electrical iron box, electric toaster. So these are all some applications we are used in your daily life. In this appliance, the heat elements are made of nichrome, an alloy of nickel and chromium. Nichrome has a high specific resistance and can be heated to a very high temperature without oxidation. Next one of the application is electric fuse. We are using this electric fuse in our home. The first electric fuse is to protect the electrical device from the excessive current. If a short length of the wire made of a low melting point material, it melts and breaks the circuit if current exceeds a certain value. Lead and copper wire melt and burns out when the current increases 5 amps and 35 amps respectively. The only disadvantage with the above fuses is that once the fuse wire is burnt due to excessive current, they need to replace. Nowadays in house, circuit breakers, that is tripper, are used instead of fuses. Whenever the excessive current produced due to the faulty wire connection, the circuit breaker is switches open. We know that when open circuit there is no flow of current. After repairing the faulty connection, we can close the circuit breaker switch so that the electrical device will work. Next application is electric furnace. It is used to manufacture a large number of technological important material such as steel, silicon carbide, quartz, gallium, arsenide, etc. so that we can melt and to make the manufacturing products. To produce temperature up to 1500 degrees Celsius, molybdenum nichrome, that is wire wound on a silica tube, is used. Carbon arc furnaces produce temperature up to 3000 degrees Celsius. The last one is electrical lamp. It consists of tungsten filament. It has a melting point of 3380 degrees Celsius, kept inside a glass bulb and heated incandescence by current. In incandescent electric lamp, only about 5% of electrical energy is converted to light and rest is wasted as heat. Electric discharge lamps, that is electric welding and electric arc, are also utilize the heating effect of current as shown in this figure.
Welcome students. Today the topic we are going to see now is thermoelectric effect. It is a conversion of temperature difference to the electrical voltage and voltage to the temperature difference is known as thermoelectric effect. A thermoelectric is a device generates voltage when there is a temperature difference on each side, and if the voltage is applied, it generates the temperature defect. This is known as thermoelectric effect. We have three effects by using the thermoelectric effect. One is Seebeck effect, Peltier effect and Thomson effect. The first we are going to see now is Seebeck effect. Seebeck discovered when a closed circuit consists of two dissimilar metals. Here we are using copper and ferrite. By using closed circuits at a junction maintained at two different temperature. One is ice cubes and another one is warm water, which is hot. So the two different temperature we are maintaining at the junction of copper and ferrite. That junction we make by the thermocouple, that is the dissimilar metals connected to form two junction is known as thermocouple. When you keep the galvanometer between the metal, due to this temperature difference, we will get the potential differences developed. So by using the temperature difference, we will get a potential difference, that is an EMF is developed. The current produced by this EMF developed, that is thermoelectric current. If the hot and cold junctions are interchanged, the direction of current also reverse. So the effect is reversible. The magnitude of the EMF developed in the thermocouple depends on the nature of the metals forming the couple
and the temperature difference between the junctions. We have many applications of the Seebeck effect. Seebeck effect is used in thermoelectric generators. These generators we are used in the power plants to convert the waste heat into the electricity. For example, in a sugarcane mill, that due to the heat produced by the wastage of the sugarcane, that generates the voltage, so it will generate the total mill, or the overall mill generates by the heat. So the waste we can convert to the electrical power supply, that is electricity. And also this effect is used in the automobiles and automotive thermoelectric generator for increase the fuel efficiency. Seebeck effect is used in thermocouple and thermopiles to measure the temperature difference between two objects. Thermoelectric effect. Conversion of temperature difference into electrical voltage and vice versa is known as thermoelectric effect. Conversion of temperature difference means two different temperature, one is high, another one is low. This temperature difference can convert to the electrical voltage. This effect we known as thermoelectric effect. A thermoelectric device generates the voltage when there is a temperature difference on each side. If your voltage is applied, it generates the temperature difference. Seebeck effect. Seebeck discovered that in a closed circuit consisting of two dissimilar metals, when the junction are maintained at different temperature, an EMF, that is potential difference, is developed. At the thermocouple, if two different temperature, one is cold, another one is warm, that means two different temperature and potential differences developed. So the current that flows due to the EMF developed is called thermoelectric current. The two dissimilar metals are connected to form two junctions as a thermocouple. If the hot and cold junction are interchanged, the direction of the current also reverse. Hence the effect is reversible. The magnitude of the EMF developed in a thermocouple depends on the nature of the metals forming the couple and the temperature difference between the junction. Application of Seebeck effect is used to thermoelectric generator. These thermoelectric generators are used in power plants to convert waste heat into the electricity. This effect is utilized in automobiles as automotive thermoelectric generator for increasing fuel efficiency. Seebeck effect is used in thermocouples and thermobiles to measure the temperature difference between two objects. Peltier effect. In 1834, Peltier discovered that when electric current is passed through a circuit of a thermocouple, heat is evolved at one junction and absorbed at the other junction. This is known as Peltier effect. In the copper and ferrite thermocouple, the junction A and B are maintained at the same temperature. Let a current form a battery flow through the thermocouple. At the junction A, where the current flow from copper to ferrite, heat is absorbed and the junction A becomes cold. And the junction B, where the current flows from ferrite to copper, heat is liberated and it becomes hot. When the direction of current is reversed, junction A gets heated and junction B gets cooled, as shown in this figure. So hence Peltier effect is reversible. Thomson effect. Thomson showed that if two points in a conductor are at different temperatures, the density of electrons at these points will differ, and as a result, the potential difference is created between these points. Thomson effect is also reversible. If a current passed through a copper bar AB, which is heated at a middle point C, the point C will be at higher potential. This indicates that the heat is absorbed along AC and evolved along CB of the conductor. Thus, heat is transferred due to the current flow in the direction of the current. It is called positive Thomson effect. Similar effect is observed in metals like silver, zinc and cadmium. When the copper bar is replaced by an iron bar, heat is evolved along Ca and absorbed along Bc. Thus, heat is transferred due to current flow in the direction opposite to the direction of current. It is called negative Thomson effect. Similar effect is observed in like metal, platinum, nickel, cobalt and mercury. Welcome students. Now we are going to see the effect of thermoelectric effect, that is Peltier effect. Peltier discovered that when an electric current is passed through a circuit of thermocouple, heat is evolved at one junction and absorbed at the other junction. This is known as Peltier effect. In the copper ferrite thermocouple, the junction A and B are maintained at the same temperature. Now the current from a battery flow through the thermocouple. At the junction A, where the current flow from copper to ferrite, heat is absorbed at the junction. A becomes cold. At the junction B, where the current flows from ferrite to copper, heat is liberated. So it becomes hot. When the direction of the current is reversed, the junction A gets heated and junction B gets cooled. So hence Peltier effect is also reversible. Next, Thomson effect. Thomson showed that if 2 points in a conductor are at different temperature, the density of the electrons at these points will differ, and as a result the potential difference is created between these points. Thomson effect is also reversible. If current is passed through a copper bar AB, when it is heated at the midpoint, that is center point C is getting heated. So C will be the now higher potential. This indicates that the heat is absorbed along A and C and evolved along C and B of the conductor. Thus, heat is transferred due to current flow in the direction of the current. So, it is called positive Thomson effect. Similar effect is observed by using the metals like silver, zinc and cadmium. Next, when the instead of copper bar is replaced by the iron bar, now heat is evolved along Ca and absorbed along Bc. Thus, heat is transferred due to current flow in the direction opposite to the direction of current. So, it is called the negative Thomson effect. Similar effect is observed in metals like platinum, nickel, cobalt and mercury.